Hello, everyone. Welcome to True Talk podcast. My name is Evangelist Emmanuel Kundayo, and here with me is
Timmy Shudain.
welcome. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
So today we'll be talking a little bit about a very interesting topic that God has put in my heart to talk about, and that is cohabitation. Is it right or wrong for a Christian to cohabitate? That's what we'll be talking about. So recently, the Lord has been speaking to me and talking to me about cohabitation. And he gave me a direct warning to tell people that cohabitation is not his will. However, there are many Christians that may not necessarily share that viewpoint. But we just want to look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of cohabitation. So, Mr. Timmy,
Yeah.
you are a young man, you've been through several relationships, I
Yeah.
believe. And can you share with us what's your opinion on cohabitation, first of all?
Okay. Uh, when you see my opinion on cohabitation, I don't, for a Christian, I don't support cohabitation. Cohabitation is not according to God's way. God is against cohabitation. The Bible says that you need to keep the bed undefiled. Before a Christian gets married, two people, a man and a woman, before they get married, the relationship needs to be pure according to God's standard, the Christian standard. You need to keep the bed undefiled. You can't say, okay, for someone visiting his spouse or the person that he wants to get married to, over time sleeping there for 1 week, even days sleeping over, there is a certain level of temptation that we can't resist as a Christian. So it's better to flee. And once the bed is defiled, Satan will perforate that relationship. There won't be purity, there won't be holiness, and that will be the beginning of destruction. That will be the beginning of lack of trust in the marriage, and that will elongate into the family and even bring even family causes, generational causes. Yes, even if they eventually get married to each other, there will still be consequences. So it is very wrong, and I don't support, as a Christian, I don't support cohabitation between two couples.
Okay, I see you spoke from a perspective of keeping the bell defiled and
Undefiled.
undefiled and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But what of people who say things like, okay, they are not necessarily sleeping with each other?
Okay.
And certain people believe that before you buy a product,
So need to test it.
you must test it and know what the product is all about. So there are certain people, maybe even Christians, that will argue that they don't they don't necessarily commit any immorality or anything,
Okay.
but they cohabitate just to know more about the person. So
Okay.
what would you say to that?
Okay. For a person, I've had some friends that cohabitate with each other, neighbors that I relate with, and I don't judge them I don't judge them, I relate with them. So from their point of view, very few, some of them, some Christians that cohabitate might eventually get married, but most of these people that cohabitate, they don't actually get married, because you can't know, for a man, you can't know your wife finish. You can't know a man, even God, you can't know God finish. So as a man, you can't know a woman finish. As a woman, you keep on seeing another dimension every single day. And when it comes to, like, you want to test what you want, some people could be like, you need to see if you are sexually compatible. So you need to see because most marriages, some marriages used to have sexual problem. Like, the guy is sexually active, the female is not sexually active, and vice versa, opposite. So in that case, Paul in the Bible said that your body is not your own. If the guy has high libido and the lady have the libido, the lady should know by teaching that her body is not her own. Whenever her husband wants sex, she needs to give her body to her husband, because she is not her own. The two have become one. So if for peradventure they cohabit and they discover that, okay, they are not sexually compatible, they're going to break up. So how many men do you want to be testing from? How many men do you want to be testing your body? You have first boyfriend, you're not sexually compatible. Someone will eating your apple from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can't. It's not a life. It's not a good life, because you're sharing your body with with these people. You get, and it's fornication. You're sharing all your emotions, and over time, sharing emotions, you won't be able to love. It's as a woman when you are in a several relationship, you have sex, you can't. There's this ability to love and to trust men is going to reduce. So all those things, it is for our own good. That's why God does not want us to cohabitate with each other. So and in the look of things, over time, people that cohabitate don't end up together. I have people that can point out to, for example, when I was living in Calabar, when I was serving, the people that they cohabitate, my neighbors, they cohabitate with each other. The lady left where she was staying and going to cohabitate with the guy. They end up breaking up because they'll begin to find out different things that is not compatible between both of them. They had a lot of sex. They had no. There is no guidance. They don't have mentor over their head. All those things is just disastrous. So it's not godly at all, and it's not advisable for young people to cohabitate with each other. Let me just stop
Yeah,
it
I
there.
think that is true because if you look at it from a similar perspective,
Yeah,
you know, when a husband and a wife, when they get married,
yeah,
you know, there are certain things that a woman or a man should not fully give to someone you are dating if you've not
yeah.
married them.
Exactly.
You know, like when you cohabitate, for example, you are cooking, you are cleaning,
You're already doing
you're already doing
housewife material
wife
already.
duties, yes, and husband duties without necessarily being in the commitment of
Mm.
marriage. And then it also gives the other person like excuses to say, oh, because of this and this and this, I will not marry you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were married to such person, those things will
Won't
not
show
be
up.
excuses.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
everyone will tolerate each other. But because you are not married, when you see maybe the person is a bit dirty, it's
Just
not
leave.
clean, you will say, oh, I can't
And
continue.
you can't get a perfect person. That's one. You can never get a perfect person. Cohabitation makes you think that okay, oh, because this person is not perfect, let me look for another person that will be perfect. And even in marriages, nobody is perfect. All marriages have their flaws. It's just ability to endure each other, ability to take on each other faults and mend it. You know, have even if they can't mend it, you can just look for someone like a mentor. You know, there are some cases whereby the issue escalates beyond their capacity. You can have a pastor to advise them. But if you're cohabiting with someone, you can't go and meet your pastor that okay, this issue you're cohabiting. Even no, they won't you won't have the boldness to go and meet your pastor to have somebody, a mentor that will guide you where you understand. It's a destructive thing in the life of youth that cohabitates. Yeah, so that's just it.
Yeah, another thing is that what one thing I noticed is that the modernization of everything, like
Mm.
we are trying to, especially in Africa, for example, this is not part of our culture, but we are trying to copy everything the West does, you know, and there's a reason why, in my opinion, not just my opinion, but it has been proven as a fact that 50% of marriages in the US, for example,
Look,
end in
divorce.
divorce.
Mm.
And if you look at the situations before the divorce, you will discover that many times some people have dated for 5 to 10 years.
Yes,
They've
yes.
cohabited.
Even 15
You
years.
know, they might have been dating for 10 years, cohabited for 5 years,
Yes. And they will have
dated
dated
for. So they've
several
seen
people.
everything there is to see about the person.
Mm.
So nothing excites them
Nothing
anymore.
new.
And that is the model that is only supposed to exist in a marriage. But they've seen everything that is supposed to be seen in a marriage. They've seen it while they were dating each other. And because there is no commitment that binds them, there's no like vow, there's nothing.
Wow.
They can decide to opt out
Without
at any
any
time.
mark on them. You know, for a guy that invested in a lady, or a lady that invested in the guy, sacrificed everything for him. Maybe when the guy is now rich, and this thing is not on maybe only the guy, only the man. It also happens vice versa. It can be maybe when the man is sending the lady to school, paying her school fees, coming to stay over, they're living together. When the lady is well to do, she has graduated, she have a good job, she can say, I'm not doing, you're not my spec, you're not my standard. You know, so but if the every all the excitement that they want to keep, that they are to explore, is pended until wedding. You know, they'll be like, wow, I want to do this when I get married to my husband, I want to do this. There is expectations already, expectations. So when they get married, the expectation will keep on growing. But when you cohabit with someone, there's nothing to look out for anymore.
Hmm.
Everything, all the sex they want to have, they've
Very
done
true.
everything already.
Very true.
There's no joy, no expectations to look for again. So, and I always say, even because they're having premarital sex, and someone, most of them, they break up. The how will I say, the idea and things they've learned from one relationship, they bring to another relationship, the expectation from one relationship to another. So they, after having a relationship with 4 to 5 guys or even 10 guys, now bringing into someone that you want to get married to, it's going to affect the marriage. It's going to affect the marriage, and this cohabitation thing affects a lot of marriages. It's one of the reasons why people don't last long in marriage. There is lack of trust and everything. In fact, not even cohabitation alone, even premarital sex. There are some people that they don't cohabit, but they just come and go, they have sex.
Yeah.
But even those premarital sex affect marriages too. Then it affects purity. And you see with these people, they go to church. Christians per se, they go to church. Pastors don't preach these things to them. They don't preach it for them to. This thing is wrong. In our churches, they don't preach these things. And even the pastors, the churches that preach these stuff, people don't. They just they won't come to church any longer because their heart is hardened. So I believe Christians should know God for themselves. They should read the Bible. They should read the Christian the Bible standard. God will never bring his standard down. We need to follow the Bible standard and keep to it for the betterment of ourselves.
Yeah, I think another problem we have in our society is we are trying to improve on everything as believers.
Mm.
Sometimes I feel like, yes, our fathers might not have known everything and they might not have been modern in their approach, but I feel like our generation is trying to completely remove everything that they have
Yeah,
built,
the,
that
the
remove the
standard.
standard. And if you notice, there's a scripture in the Bible where God spoke about a particular group of people whom their father commanded not to drink.
Mm.
I don't know if they are called the Rechabites or something like that.
Okay.
They're a particular group of people, and God made them. God spoke to His prophet using them as an example that they kept the laws of their fathers.
Mm.
This was not even God that commanded them. Their father gave them
Yeah,
principles:
the
don't
tradition.
drink and tradition, and they kept it for generations upon
How much
generations.
more us?
So and there's a reason, even though our fathers might have endured their relationships sometimes, but there's a reason why their marriages lasted
Okay.
longer.
Mm.
Today we spend so much on marriages, we spend millions upon millions of naira, thousands
Counseling.
upon thousands of dollars, therapy, counseling, and yet divorce. It's a
Mm.
single parent. Another thing I feel like we need to speak to the youths about is the issue of baby mama, baby daddy
Mm.
that is happening. You see a young girl that is about 19, 20, she's already a single mother. And one thing, especially because I am online a lot, so I see a lot of comments, and a lot of people complain that it's difficult for single mothers to find
Husband.
husbands, and it's difficult.
It's
It may
going to be
not.
difficult. They used to say single. Sorry to say for single mothers. Some of them, because some of them don't like. It's not as if they wish themselves into that situation, but due to they don't. Is it commandment when God said don't commit fornication? It's for our own good. Due to okay, you're sleeping, it's not going to get. I'm not going to get pregnant. I'm counting. I use condom. All these things. You can't be wiser than God. It's God that gave us the commandment, thou shalt not commit fornication. You have seen the consequences. Most single mamas, they end up being alone because most men won't marry someone that's already giving birth to a baby. And let me tell you, sir, some baby might go as far as giving birth to 2 to 3 children for different men because their experiences that okay, I can't stay long with one man. They break up, they give birth to the baby, and that person approach them, they give birth. Of course, they're going to have sex. So all those things bring consequences to them, and they keep on living with that. And when you train a child from a single parent, it affects the family. That's not the God. That's not God order for a family. God order for a family is the father, the mother, and the children. Yeah, so it affects the community also. Because if a child that is not being disciplined by the father will cause chaos in the community. So all these things, when we don't follow God's standard, it affects little gradually. it affects the community, it affects the church, it affects the school, it affects our ideology. So I would just say it is good for us as Christians to stick to the Bible, stick to our parents. You know, our parents endure marriage. Marriage nowadays don't last. Yeah, if two people, couples have issues in their marriage, they can't endure pride, ego, all those things. It's not according to the scripture. So it really affects our lives as Christians if we don't follow the tradition of God and the laws of God.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
There's
thanks so
something
much.
you said that I want to hold on to.
Yeah.
You spoke about investing in
Mm.
the relationship,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have questions on how far should one invest, because cohabitation in a relationship is some kind of
You still
investment. So,
investment.
because
Okay.
in my opinion, you leave your own apartment, you come and live with someone
Mhm.
when you could have had your own. Maybe at some point you guys even combine money
Contribute money.
together. You contribute money and buy a house together,
Mm.
or even rent an apartment together.
Yeah.
Then you break up.
Mm.
After breaking up, the question of who takes the
Yeah.
apartment,
Mm.
who takes this property,
You share
who does this, who does that, who takes this one, who takes that. There's an issue,
mm,
and in my opinion, I think cohabitation does not pay in any way,
does not pay at all.
because at the end of the day, that money that you could have invested
Yourself,
in yourself
you just waste it
to
over to another
discover
person.
yourself.
And again, I would say, sir, I would say investing in someone does not really pertain to cohabitation. There are relationships that even Christian relationships that people invest, men invest in their couples. You know, for someone that does not seek the face of God. Most people, when they want to get married, they don't seek the face of God. They just act based off on feelings. They start investing. They pay the girl school fees, buy phone for her, send her to school. Rent. All those things. And imagine a guy taking up all this responsibility for someone that is not, you have not yet heard God that this is my wife. You get now. I think men should, before you go into a relationship and invest in your pocket,
Significant
as in
sum.
a significant amount of money. As a man, you have to invest.
Yeah.
You have to invest because you're a responsible person. But before you get married, before you go deep, you must be sure that okay, this is where God is leading me to. God hand is in this marriage, and I think this when you're before you get into a relationship, you shouldn't be maybe 6 years. You're sending a lady to school 6 years, 7 years, 5 years. I think that gives rooms for relapse in the relationship. You can find another person. So, but when God have told you this is who you want to marry, God hands in it. Be fast. Any investment you want to invest in a lady. Get married. You don't need to stay long in. Okay, you understand what I'm saying. You don't need to stay long before you get married to the person. And again, before you say you want to go into a relationship, long term relationship really sometimes it brings about fornication. The body is not, it's a body no be firewood. You get it? So before you get to a relationship, you need to be ready. Christian wise now, you need to be ready, and you need to know that okay, financially to some extent stable. Now most people, some people don't, they're not financially stable, but due to mutual understanding, but they don't stay that long before they get married. Again, I would say staying long in relationship, while dating, courting, secret relationship, all those things to lead to sin, unforeseen sins. You understand what I'm saying? So that's just it. That's just it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining True Talk Podcast. This is episode number 1. By the grace of God, as God is leading us, we'll be inviting more people. We'll be talking about very important issues that children of God may have, that we may places that seem to be like gray areas
Mm.
that we seem to avoid, that may be avoided in the church, that may be avoided in schools, that Christians are having questions about. So one thing you can do is you can write your questions down in the comments, and we'll shoot episodes on these comments. God bless you.